So MSNBC Morning Joe co-hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski revealed this morning that they had a personal sit-down with the president-elect in Florida to restart communications. Scarborough and his wife, who repeatedly have bashed the president-elect on the air over the years, I hadn't noticed that, said they had a
Almost didn't because they don't watch.
Yeah, had a face-to-face with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago estate on Friday, the first meeting in 7 years after reaching out in the wake of his election win. 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of the public debate, said Brzezinski as she opened Monday's show with a stunning revelation. But nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, January 6 were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to Washington with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. I was thinking more of like, I don't know, morning show waiter and waitress, in the morning time, there's a couple of diners.
They could go back to the radio show that they put on hiatus many years ago because they wanted to add a third hour. Yeah, they couldn't figure out how to do that.
Yeah,
though.
We just have to figure out how to do that.
Wait, so because this is interesting because it's fascinating because of course, they loved Trump back in the day. They loved him. They were best buds.
I think they were with him on 2016, weren't they? On election night or something like that, or maybe for one of the
primaries. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
They had him on all the time. They were good friends with him. Mm-hmm. And then he became president. He got the nomination. They started to oppose him. He became president. They got into a fight. I remember Trump tweeting something about her plastic surgery or something. Like he was saying she had botched plastic surgery.
Yes.
Yeah, the good old days. But like I can understand, like there is a rational human thing to do, which would allow for something like this. Like a rational human being who just went through this election and was telling everyone, Donald Trump was a fascist. And when they saw, hey, wait a minute, they voted for him. Maybe I should try to understand them. Maybe I should try to. Maybe I'm the. Are we the baddies? Right? Yeah. Like it's one of those moments.
Yeah.
But
that's not what they're saying.
That's not what they're saying. Because I think it kind of seemed like what they were saying there, but I just don't believe it at all from them. Like, and it also they have no incentive to do it. Their audience is going to hate this.
Well, their audience has dropped by half in the last 10 days.
Of course, it has.
Yeah.
But that's also not shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, from 6 to 3 people is not that big of a. I mean, it sounds dramatic.
It was actually 2 to 1.
2 to 1. Okay.
Yeah, there were 2 people, and Mika has just said, "I'm not watching the monitors anymore. I'm not going to do it."
Because we know the camera people weren't.
No, they haven't watched that for years. But anyway, listen. So Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. That starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him. Yeah, you've been talking about him for a while now. The trio talked about abortion, mass deportation, and threats of political retribution.
This is terrifying.
We talked about that a good bit. It will come as no surprise to anybody who watches the show, has watched it over the past year or the past decade, that we don't see eye to eye with a lot of the issues, and we told him so. What we did agree on was to restart communications.
What does that mean? Because if there's a famous clip of Joe and Mika basically asking Donald Trump what he wanted to be asked during an interview.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And this was back in, 2015, 2016.
Mm-hmm. When they were
buddies.
Yeah,
right?
buddies.
Like it was like, basically like, so what does that mean? The communication. Like
I have a feeling it means that MSNBC or, Morning Joe hasn't reached out, or if they have, they've not gotten a response from Trump. And so now they're like, okay, let's talk. Let's at least talk.
What would the need be for Donald Trump to talk to them? I mean, for him, just for pure entertainment purposes, take the meeting. It would be funny. But like, why? What would be the purpose of them talking? I mean, maybe Trump is just like, I can win over some MSNBC viewers. I can, bend the media coverage a little bit toward my favor. But I can understand why he would want to do it. But why would he actually go ahead with it? It's not gonna change anything.
I don't know. Other than he doesn't. Nobody does. Nobody likes being a pariah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You seem to enjoy it.
I really don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
Many things. This is what Trump said. It was extremely cordial, and the couple praised his flawless campaign. That's what Fox News reported. Many things were discussed. I'm quoting the president now, and I very much appreciated the fact they wanted to have open communication. In many ways, it's too bad that it wasn't done long ago. They congratulated me on running a great and flawless campaign, one for the history books, which I believe it was. But it was also a campaign where I worked long and hard, perhaps longer and harder than any other presidential candidate in history. I believe that, too.
And we should point out a big part of that work was fighting off fake accusations of being Adolf Hitler from those people.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have time for them. He's a better man than I suppose, for entertaining the nonsense.
I feel an obligation to the American public and to our country itself to be open and available with the press. If not treated fairly, however, that will end. I think as the president, it is NBC. It's not MSNBC. So that, that's like, it's Kleenex. No, it's actually the people that perforate the box at the top that you pull that out and then you can get the Kleenex. I'm not talking to the perforation people. If I want to deal with Kleenex, I'm going to the people that are making the Kleenex. So it's MSNBC, but the backlash against the pair was swift on social media this morning, with many blasting the duo for their shamelessness and for bending the knee by arranging the face-to-face. Hitler getting a lot more meeting requests than I would have thought.
I mean, this improves how fake all that was.
I know. You don't meet with Hitler.
Yeah, Joe Biden welcoming into the White House. All this, back and forth, that we're going to work together. We'll make sure your transition is as good as possible. Why would you do that for Adolf? I mean, that's just it doesn't make any sense. None of this stuff was actually real. That whole time. It just lies to try to win an election.
Byron York said, annals of shamelessness. They call Trump a fascist and much, much more. Then 22 days after his Nazi-like rally, they fly to Florida for an audience?
That's so bad. I mean, a lot of times I feel like sometimes audiences can be tough if you step out at all, right? Like if you take a position, this has happened to me, it's happened to you, where you take a position the audience doesn't like, they can rip you, and that's good to keep you in line. But sometimes I think it's overdone. Like, you're going to disagree with people, and you should disagree with people that you listen to. I would feel completely lied to if I were one of their fans. Now, I know they don't have a lot of them, so it's hard to know for sure. But
ever since Joe's mom stopped listening.
She used to listen to this show, actually. Yeah, she back in the day.
Yeah,
she's Joe Scarborough's mom. Sorry, if you're listening today, we love your son. I'm sure he's great.
We love him in the way Jesus requires us to love him.
Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world.
Yeah.
Loyal Morning Joe viewers are furious about the Trump meeting. Jeff Jarvis.
Oh, not Jeff Jarvis.
Yes, the Jeff Jarvis.
Wow.
Now, I don't.
Is he upset?
I might have to click on the name Jeff Jarvis to learn who Jeff Jarvis is. So you know who he is.
Oh, of course. Oh, and he's a known cool-headed guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sure.
So enlighten me so I don't have to click. Who is Jeff Jarvis?
Jeff Jarvis?
Yes, Jeff Jarvis.
Did you ever see the movie, from Marvel?
I mean, sure, I've seen many movies from Marvel.
The Jarvis character was based on him. Very, very smart. Very, almost AI-like.
Almost AI-like.
He's that calm, collected, and informed.
He says it's a betrayal of their colleagues, democracy, and us all. Which, again, if you're an MSNBC viewer, wouldn't you feel that way? What do you mean you're meeting with Adolf Hitler? What are you talking about? You just spent multiple years telling us he didn't care about democracy. He wanted to destroy the nation.
Can I play devil's advocate?
On behalf of Joe and Mika, or on behalf of Jeff Jarvis, who, by the way, is a
computer AI.
I don't know what he's maybe a professor.
Okay.
A professor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There you go.
So I was more impressed when he was a non-existent computer from a movie. The play devil's advocate.
Okay.
I would meet with, if I was a journalist I would meet with Hitler. I'd meet with Klaus Schwab.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't kiss the ring, but I would want an interview.
Right, but that's not what they got. They got a private meeting. They got a dinner.
I guess, because it would require me to also continue to do that. And I wouldn't get that unless I kissed the ring because I said what I really believe. But the secret here is they don't believe that. They don't actually believe that.
He's Hitler.
No.
Right. Because, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made, and you kind of hit on this earlier a little bit, but there's an argument to be made that if you believe you can go in there and sweet talk him and get him to be a little bit less adversarial toward you, that it's worth doing it, right? Like that's why people always like, well, why do you talk to reporters when they're writing these bad stories about you? And it's like, well, it's a good point because you never get a good story written about you if you're a conservative. But one of the reasons you do it is to try to at least eliminate the worst parts of it and to try to actually point them in the right direction of the truth. Most of the time they don't take that, but you do it because they might have something completely false that someone else said about you, and you can prove that it's inaccurate, and they leave it out of the piece. That happens all the time. So maybe what they're thinking is, if we go in there and we kind of rejuvenate this friendship a little bit, remember the good old days.
But who would watch MSNBC?
That's a great question. Is that the end of it? Because it's the great question as is.
Yeah, I know it is. But let me narrow it down even further.
Okay.
For those who are currently still watching it,
yeah.
Why would you continue to watch?
I know.
Because you'd be like, wait, I don't want to like Hitler. I don't want to be with Hitler lovers.
Yeah,
you went to meet with him?
There's only two options here.
Right.
One is the host you love is meeting with Hitler. The other option is they've been lying to you the entire time.
Yes.
Why would you ever watch that show again in either circumstance? This is why you don't take the meeting. This is why I'm shocked by the incentives.
I know.
The incentives for Joe Scarborough here to keep his little train going. However,
it's up for sale. I think MSNBC is up for sale.
Yeah, they're talking about that.
Right, Ricky? Is it up for sale?
I think it is up for sale.
Yeah.
Why would you continue? What incentive do you have really to do this? Because you're failing your audience. Everyone's going to hate you in your audience, you'd think.
You're just desperate to hold on. That's the only reason. You're desperate to not lose your gig.
But why would that help you? You'd think it would hurt your gig if
you're
kissing up to Adolf Hitler.
But you are trying to inject logic into this.
Right. But let me ask you this. Let me give you another crazy possibility. Is it possible they actually really do believe their rhetoric this whole time? And they think Trump is actually going to pull them off the air. And so they're trying to get on his good side to prevent that. Because Trump has basically said, "I will come after these news networks."
We honestly thought if we lost, our time would be marked because it wasn't just going to be us; it was going to be anybody who disagrees with the regime. Misinformation that will take us out. I wouldn't have made lovey-dovey with.
No, I wouldn't
have. I wouldn't have never done that. I wouldn't have gone. I need to see Kamala.
I think though, but you're not a horrible human being, so you're not understanding their situation exactly. Their situation is a little different. They have a little different incentives and thought processes.
Sarah, clip that because that's the only time. I worked this whole conversation to get him to say, "You're not a horrible human being."
Yeah, I was talking to Sarah. What do you mean?